Mai te wāhingaro te tamata wairua tapu rere hau pai marire. Tūrongoroko i e te pōtā kiri ko te ata. Ka wheki, ka wheka ki te matahau o tū. O tū te wini wini, o tū te wana wana, o tū whakaputaine ki te whai au ki te ao mārama ti hei mauri ora. Ko te kuputuatahi ko te wahi ki te atua nāna rā tātou i whakawhaiti mai runga i te ora me te pai. Nāna rā tātou i whakawhaiti mai runga i te reo karanga o te kaupapa o te rā. Anei, te kuhi atu nei ki a koutou. Nau mai, piki mai kake mai. Nau mai ki Waikato Tainui. Nau mai ki te kōpua mānia o Kirikiri Roa. Nau mai ki te Kingitanga. Nau mai ki te whare wānanga o Waikato. Nau mai i mua i te aroaro o ngā rangatira o tēnei whare. Arara, ko te tumua ki tērā, a Neo Quigley, me ona kai arahi, me ona kai mahi o te whare wānanga o Waikato. Hare mai, hare mai, hare mai. Hare mai me o tātou tini aitua, me o tātou tini mate. E ai te kōrero i kure i tangi he mai mai aroha ki a rātou ko menea ki te pō. No reira ngā mūrau o te tini ngā winarau o te mano, hare atu rā, oki oki, moe mai. Ke hoki mai ki a tātou e tau nei raro i ngā mana ki ta ngā te runga rawa. Tēnā koutou, huri noa, tēnā tātou katoa.
Welcome to the 2021 New Zealand National Final of the Masters Thesis in 3 competition. My name is Christine Moffat, and it is my pleasure to be your MC for this event. My university, the University of Waikato, is proud to host the 2021 Masters 3MT competition. We are just very sad that because of the extraordinary times in which we live, we cannot welcome you onto our beautiful campus. Instead, we will be coming to you under the current level 3 restrictions from different living rooms and different office spaces around the Waikato and around New Zealand. I thought because this event is wonderful, it's an event that fills me with joy and pleasure and delight, hearing people talk with passion about their research, that this is quite a grand event. And so I thought the place in my house that symbolises the most my feelings of excitement about this event are my living room and the kind of symbolic grand piano. So I've got my party frock on, I've got my hair ornament in, and I am ready to listen to all kinds of exciting presentations from our 6 speakers this evening. I was thinking a little bit about the way in which we come to you in digital form tonight. And in many ways, I think this is symbolic of the times in which we live and the way in which we've all had to get used to communicating through Zoom and recordings, and rather than face-to-face communication, communication mediated by a screen. I'm also struck by the wonderful resilience of the organisers of this event, who've had to change plans multiple times. And so a big thank you to our School of Graduate Research, to our communications and marketing team. It is through their skill, through their organisation, through their perseverance that this event can take place. Above all, however, this is an event which speaks to the resilience, the courage, the insight, and the passion of the master's students you're going to hear from. It is very difficult to research at the best of times, even more difficult in an environment in which travel is limited and communication face-to-face is limited in these COVID times. So this comes to you with my respect, not only for these 6 students we're going to hear from today, but all the students researching throughout New Zealand, continuing to be passionate and committed to their work, even although it is particularly challenging. It is now my great pleasure to introduce you to Professor Bryony James. She is the Deputy Vice-Chancellor of Research here at the University of Waikato, and she has some words of welcome.
Enga mana, enga reo, enga rau rangatira, o ngā hauawha, tēnā koutou katoa. Ne rā ta mihi mo te haki ki te kingi tu heitia po tātou te whera te tuawhitu. Ka mihi hoki ki a tātou katoa e hiuhiui mai nei e tēnei ahi pō. Nau mai, piki mai, tahuti mai. Welcome to the finals of the National 3-Minute Thesis competition for Masters students. We were so looking forward to welcoming you onto our beautiful campus here at Te Whare Wānanga o Waikato, the University of Waikato. But COVID has decreed that this has to be a virtual event. I hope that families and friends of the presenters are gathered at home and will make as much noise and excitement as an in-person event. But even if you're sitting at home alone in your bubble, you're quite likely to be moved at the conclusion of these talks to cheer and clap and whistle and shout. You know what, go ahead. And if your neighbours call noise control on you, you're doing it right. Because this evening we are going to hear from 6 exceptional research students, each representing their university in this final. The topics cover every aspect of the environment, from volcanoes to forests, from the urban to the rural, through memory and movements, and even into the shadows. Research is about answering questions, but the answer means nothing until it's communicated. And the way researchers usually communicate their research is through published papers, conference proceedings, symposia, and of course their thesis. What sets tonight's presentations apart is the particular challenge facing our presenters. We are going to get a whistle-stop tour through their whole research journey in only 3 minutes. That's pretty speedy stuff, so fasten your seatbelts and enjoy the ride.
Thank you so much to Professor Brian E. James for that lovely welcome on the behalf of the university. I am now joined by 3 very important people, our wonderful judges who are sharing their time and expertise to choose our runner-up and winner. Without further ado, I'm going to ask each of them to introduce themselves.
Talofa lava, whakalofa lahi atu, kia orana, Nisa Bulavanaka, Maluni, tēnā koutou katoa. My name's Rachel Corrales. I'm from Kaute Pacifica. We're based here in Hamilton, Waikato. We're a Pan-Pacific organisation that delivers wellbeing services to people from all ethnic backgrounds, and our point of difference is that we use Pacific models of care and practice. I myself, I'm Samoan. My mum was from Samoa. I was born there. My father is from Taranaki, so we've got strong roots that hail back to Taranaki. But we've been as a whānau here in the Waikato region for 30 plus years now, so we've got strong roots here. I'm actually an Otago undergraduate, and my association with the University of Waikato has been as a mature student. And I've been linked through the South Leadership Program, which was awesome, if any of you ever get the opportunity. But more recently, been doing work with some of the different schools throughout the university, little research projects around things that seek to improve the holistic wellbeing of Pacific communities. Really excited to be here. I think this is such an awesome initiative, and I'm looking forward to all the videos. Thank you.
Kia ora, my name is Carl Beatham. I'm the Chief Executive Officer of the Gallagher Group. We here at Gallagher are long-term strong supporters of the university, whether it be through the Gallagher Performing Arts Centre or various scholarships across the cyber school and the engineering schools, along with multiple business advisory boards as well. I'm here to represent the high-tech business portion of society, and are super excited to be part of this. So thank you so much, and good luck to all of the entrants.
Hello everyone, my name is Nancy Keiser, and I grew up in Singapore, lived in England, and came to New Zealand in 1993. I have been involved with the university just over 20 years through the scholarship office, having set up a scholarship all those times back, and being involved with seeing what's happening in the university, especially in the art scene, which is where my passion is. I'm very much a community person, being involved with the art scene here in Hamilton, through Mage Sculpture Hamilton, through Boone Sculpture, through Boone Street Art as well. And this is being a judge in this is quite an exciting venture because it's outside my level of comfort, but I'm looking forward to the judging and the discussion, and good luck to all the people who have taken part. Thank you.
We've met our judges, and soon we will be hearing from each of our 6 presenters. But before we move to this stage of proceedings, we need to know the rules of engagement. Firstly, and most importantly, each of the presenters has only 3 minutes to share their research insights and passion. This is a really difficult thing to do. As a lecturer at university, I'm used to 50 minutes at least to share with my class an insight into something we're studying, to distill all of the knowledge and all of the research of a master's thesis, which takes students a year to complete, down to 3 minutes. This is a fine art, a difficult thing to do. So as Bryony encouraged you to do as you listen to these presentations at home, as you celebrate with your friends, your family, your colleagues, cheer, celebrate, raise a glass in support of the wonderful achievement of these researchers. As well as the 3 minutes, each presenter can only have one single static slide to illustrate in visual form aspects of what they're talking about. They can't have sound and video files, they can't have props, and they have to use the spoken word as their communication tool. The rules explicitly state no rap songs, no poems, no singing. It's the voice and the power of the voice to communicate. The 2 crucial criteria on which each of the presentations will be judged is firstly, comprehension and content. Do we have a clear understanding of what this research is about? Secondly, the criteria of engagement and communication, the ability of the speaker to make their topic live for you and for I listening. I did my master's in English here at the University of Waikato, and now I teach here, and I'm a teacher of literature. So when I'm thinking of the thesis in 3, I think of it first and foremost as an opportunity to share a brief story of what your research is. Why is it important? What are you researching? Why does it inspire you? Another way of thinking about this is as an elevator pitch. What would you say about your research if you were in a lift with someone who is a specialist in your field, someone you look up to and respect? You've only got those few flights to captivate them, to persuade them of the importance of what you're doing. How do you do that in 3 minutes? We now turn to the 6 presentations. 6 wonderful master's students from the length of New Zealand. We have presentations from Canterbury and Otago, Victoria and Auckland, Waikato and Lincoln. And we have such an array of topics, from farming as a business to restoring urban forests, from human leopard-seal cohabitation to human movement and mobility during COVID. We will learn about children, memory and time. And firstly, our first presenter is going to share his insights into volcanoes.
Kia ora koutou. I'm Charles Cheng, and this is my 3-minute thesis presentation. Did you know that millions of New Zealanders live on active volcanoes, and we don't even know when or where they're going to erupt from? Whether it's the busy city life of Auckland, the ski fields of Mount Ruapehu, or hiking the Tongariro Crossing, all of these places are found on active volcanoes that could erupt at any time with little to no warning. My study focuses on Mount Ruapehu, an active volcano located in the middle of the North Island of New Zealand, to try and understand when and where the volcano will erupt from in the future. I use the most basic volcano monitoring tool you can think of, using your eyes to watch the volcano. Over the past few months, I've been climbing up Mount Ruapehu to observe and take images of its crater lake, also known to local iwi as Te Wai Amoy. You can see in the top left image a photo of me enjoying myself up the mountain once I've climbed up to the crater lake. I've been doing this because the crater lake is the place on the volcano where all historical eruptions have come from, and in the top middle and top right images you can see some of these previous eruptions, which didn't seem to bother the snowboarder that much. So once I've taken these photos of the crater lake, I've then been analysing them to identify any dark patches or yellow patches on the lake surface. And you can see these in the bottom right image if you follow the black and white arrows and look really closely. The dark patches are where sediment is being brought from the vents beneath the lake up to the lake's surface by volcanic gases. And the yellow patches are sulphur, which has also been brought from the vents beneath the lake up to the lake's surface by the same volcanic gases. I've also been looking at how the lake changes colour over time, which you can see in the bottom left image is really grey because of volcanic gas mixing sediment into all of the lake water, while in the bottom right image, taken 1 month earlier, the lake is a lot bluer because of glacial meltwater input. One cool finding of my study is I've identified 5 volcanic vents beneath the lake, and this is really exciting as only 2 of these were known about before my study. And you can see my vents as the red hollow circles in the bottom right image. Another new finding of my research is that the lake is far more dynamic than previously thought, and this will likely change the way that GNS Science monitors the volcano. All of this information helps to better predict when and where the volcano will erupt from in the future, which will allow people to be evacuated from the busy ski slopes on the volcano before it erupts, and will hopefully save lives. Thanks for listening. Nō reira, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou katoa.
Imagine this. Little 8-year-old Rosie is being interviewed by investigators about alleged sexual abuse that occurred over a year ago. She has provided a lot of information about who, where, and what, but investigators are very much interested in the when. They press her for exact dates, and being primed to always give things a go, she gives them some. But as it turns out, the only suspect had a solid alibi for these given dates, and they walk free. But how do we know that Rosie provided accurate information? An incorrect order, one wrong day, even one wrong hour could mean the difference between safety and justice and the potential for further abuse. And that's what my research is about, how children can remember time-based information such as dates, but also other elements like duration and chronological order. This type of information is critical in the criminal justice system because it can greatly aid in an investigation by establishing a timeline of events or providing the ability to cross-check the alibis of suspects. It often comes up in trials to cast doubt on a child witness's credibility, but we don't actually know much about how accurate children are at doing this, nor how they do after a long delay since the target event occurred. COVID-19 provides us with a unique research opportunity. It's a dynamic, naturally occurring and global event of which the effects and consequences have been felt by all. The pandemic has many parallels to what a child might be interviewed about. It's stressful and novel, it's been integrated into daily life, and has occurred over a really long period of time. Now, this might be the closest we can get to ethical ecological validity without experimental manipulation. I am conducting interviews with children aged 6 to 14 about their memory of New Zealand's COVID-19 lockdown. Questions such as when did lockdown start, how long did lockdown last for, and what order did the 4 alert levels happen in, demand specific answers and mimic how investigators might question a child for a case. Responses will be coded and analysed based on their accuracy. This research will benefit the field of forensic interviewing because whatever the results, we will be better informed about how realistic it is to expect children to provide us with accurate, time-based information when interviewed following a crime. Criminal investigations should be done with the protection of the child, the defendant, and society in mind. So Perhaps it's in no one's best interest to press children for time-based information.
I was working in a marina when out of the murky water, within an arm's reach, appeared the head of a 3-metre penguin-eating apex predator. I was staring into the eyes of a leopard seal named Orpha, the world's first urban leopard seal. Leopard seals famously live in Antarctica, so to see one in the middle of Auckland City was unusual, to say the least. However, I recently co-authored research which showed that they have been encountered by thousands of people right across New Zealand. When humans and wildlife cohabitate, negative impacts are often reported by stakeholders. So with humans and leopard seals now cohabitating in New Zealand, it is important to determine what impacts are being perceived so that the well-being of both people and seals can be ensured. The negative impacts of human-leopard seal cohabitation may seem obvious. Leopard seals have a fearsome reputation, as anyone who's watched Happy Feet can tell you, and humans don't have the best reputation when it comes to harassing wildlife. However, little research has looked at what happens when humans and leopard seals meet, so I set out to see how we are getting along in New Zealand. First, I surveyed Auckland Marina users to record their perceived impacts of cohabitation, and 85% came back with at least one negative impact. These ranged from she's getting in the way of accessing boats to she's damaging dinghies and fenders, but the most common was she might hurt someone. So next, I interviewed people who had encountered Orpha to learn more about her behaviour and how dangerous it might be. I was told many accounts of Orpha suddenly popping up next to people as they walked along the marina or rowed in their boats. And a diver told me how she swept through the water and came to a stop right in front of her, and then just looked at her. She and many other interviewees felt that Orpha was simply being curious, and they ultimately enjoyed their encounter despite any initial fright. However, Orpha didn't seem to enjoy the encounters that weren't on her terms, as when a young man tried to touch her, she raised her head high and made a loud grunting noise before turning and slipping into the water. I also looked at the behaviour of leopard seals resting on Otago's beaches and saw that they could sleep all day, but they were disturbed if a person or dog approached within 20 metres. This research showed that negative impacts are being perceived by both people and seals during cohabitation in New Zealand, but that many encounters had a neutral or positive impact. With this knowledge, we have the power to manage our interactions so that the seals get the rest they need and we can have an enjoyable encounter the next time we see a leopard seal.
The UN has declared the 2020s as the decade for ecosystem restoration. Our cities, where about 87% of New Zealanders now live, those are degraded ecosystems, and they need healing as much as any rainforest. When you picture a city, what do you see? I see greyness, steel, smog. Cities are for humans and not for nature. Forests are something far away. Well, I'm part of a world-first project highlighting the benefits of restored urban forests for humans and wildlife. We study these patches all throughout New Zealand cities and across decades worth of restoration work. From today, I want you to look for the forest patches planted along your daily commute. Those are critical havens in an otherwise barren desert where most native species don't stand a chance. My team in this project is looking underground. The most diverse ecosystem on the planet is hugely understudied, and it's right beneath our feet. Yep, 1 teaspoon of soil contains more organisms than there are people on Earth. So it's time that we understand forest restoration from the ground up. In my thesis, I'm sampling all of our sites for soil microorganisms and mesofauna, which are critters under 1 millimetre, mainly mites and springtails. That range of life that I'm studying is comparable to the taxonomic range between humans and fungi. So, discerning what functions all of those tiny guys provide for our urban whenua and just how abundant or absent they are in a given area, will help us understand the key patterns to reviving soil communities. For example, we assume that age is key. The more time that has passed since the tree planting began, the better and richer life in the soil and then life above ground will be. That makes sense, right? But we could be wrong. Maybe it's more to do with which tree species we plant, regional differences, or something entirely different. The point is, the results that we find could form a blueprint for the future of urban planning and forest restoration. We could prevent money wasted on plantings which don't survive, because good soil turns crises into opportunities. It is literally the foundation of all life, ecological and economic. So, in the age of doing better, you could say the 1920s were roaring and the 2020s are for restoring. Ngā mihi.
This is a COVID-19 announcement. At 11:59 tonight, Auckland will enter Alert Level 4 lockdown again. Gyms, malls, schools and non-essential services will shut. Travel out of Auckland is restricted. You have 5 hours before lockdown begins. So how do you react? Where do you go? According to media reports, many of you and your phones will rush to the supermarkets, panic buying toilet paper, while others will self-evacuate to batches across the borders. But were these reports actually true? Where were we moving during lockdown, and did Aucklanders adhere to health advice to remain in their local neighbourhoods? Normally, our movement is predictable, with routines in the places we visit, the people we interact with, and the ways we commute. But COVID changed this. Historically, mobilities researchers used time-consuming travel surveys and interviews with small sample sizes. But there's now an abundance of data available from your mobile phone locations. Every day, advertisements within apps like Facebook, Uber, Tinder, and Google Maps are tracking your location, selling GPS coordinates to researchers like me. These apps, running in the background, provide a near continuous record of your personal movement. I'm using machine learning on millions of phone locations, finding trips to users' homes, workplaces, and destinations like supermarkets. I'm testing the significance of changes to the duration, frequency, and types of trips before and during lockdowns. And while I've only just started, my method is showing potential on test data. On the left is messy, raw data. This square, the size of Albert Park, contains over 5,500 data points from more than 500 mobile phones. And on the right, after analysis, is a 2-hour-long GPS track from one anonymous phone user who was walking between bars late at night. So why does this matter? This sounds creepy. I'm using privacy-protecting methods to visualize our movement through cities, seeing if lockdowns magnified social inequalities for different neighbourhoods and demographic groups. And thankfully, my lockdown scenario tonight is fake. But these mobile phone locations are real. You could be one of my mobile phones. So thanks for participating in my research.
Imagine if you were a rice farmer. You worked so hard to cultivate your rice, you harvested, and now it's time to sell it. You're like, yay, it's payday. And then you're approached by a trader. You give her a price for your rice. She's like, oh no, that's too high. There isn't much demand for your rice. And then you reduce the price. Sad. But this is the story of most smallholder rice farmers in Ghana. Because of the low demand for locally produced rice, they are unable to fully participate in the market. Low demand for rice is attributed to the relatively low quality of local rice, which is attributed to the inappropriate milling equipment used in processing rice. So, what can be done to improve the demand of local rice? Well, This is where my study comes to play. My study proposes a joint venture model to solve these issues simultaneously. The idea is that farmers, with the objective of improving the marketability of their rice and improving their income, should partner with strategic partners also looking to source from these smallholders and also looking to make some profit. These two entities will pool resources together to establish a business with the sole objective of improving the quality of rice that farmers would produce. This will be done through an inclusive value chain process, which includes adequate post-harvest techniques, improved mailing processes, better packaging, and the likes. The business will produce rice of good quality, which will actually be in demand by consumers. Farmers will get better prices for their rice and also make profits and dividends from being partners of this business, and so will the strategic partners. Although this is a brilliant idea, we'll first like to know what farmers think of this business-oriented concept. That is why my study will analyze the needs and preferences of farmers to the attributes of this model. Using a discrete choice experiment, we will elicit farmers' preferences for the model. Data analyzed from this experiment will tell us the attributes farmers value and those that they do not. And this will be used to modify the model so that in future when it's implemented, we'll know that it will actually suit farmers' preferences. And this is a step to reorienting farmers from subsistence farming to farming as a business. Thank you.
Okay. So on behalf of my fellow judges, Carl and Rachel, I just want to say a huge congratulations to all the candidates who've been so brave in putting the presentation across to us to judge. It's a big task to wither down your probably months and months of work into 3 minutes. And we really appreciate that. We appreciate that you put yourself out there, and we've totally enjoyed it.
One of the amazing things that really compelled us was how impactful the topics were, and in a really, really practical way, where you can see the link between the problem that's trying to be solved and the practical application in the world, how you could actually imagine a future where it's been brought to life and improve the lives of people.
I've heard many times before in my life that the indication of a clever, intelligent person is actually the ability to articulate complex ideas in really simple terms. And I think the ability to crystallize comprehensive bodies of research into concise, precise, and captivating material is something that will hold all of the participants, and in particular the 6 finalists, in really good stead in their personal and professional lives moving forward. And we certainly saw that in the material that we saw today.
We were very impressed with the presentation. The 6 candidates did their very best to get the ideas across to us. Slides was one of the criteria that we were looking at, and some candidates used their slides very well, more so than others, but nonetheless, the overall presentation was still excellent. And the body language was came across well in some cases, not so well in others, but overall, I think that it did enhance the content, the clarity of what was being said, and the impact of the research project. So thank you very much. We loved it and we enjoyed it, and congratulations once again.
Our 6 presenters have shared their research insights, and our judges have provided their feedback, advice, and many compliments to the presenters. It is now my honour to announce the winners of the 2021 New Zealand National Masters Thesis in 3 competition. The judges were so impressed with the standard of presentations that they requested that they be allowed to award a special highly commended award. Many thanks to Professor Brian E. James and the University of Waikato for providing for this award. So this year's special highly commended award of $250 goes to JiaBin Forbes from the University of Otago for her presentation on living with leopard seals. This year's runner-up, who receives an award of $500, goes to Grace Mitchell from the University of Waikato for her presentation on underground life in restored urban forests. And now, with a drum roll and the excitement building, if we were in the room together, we have the winner of this year's Master's Thesis in 3 final for a prize of $1,000, and the winner is Charles Cheng from the University of Canterbury for his presentation on how staring at lakes can save lives. Thank you all for joining us for this grand final of the New Zealand Masters Thesis in 3 competition. Thank you for coming and listening. Research can often be quite a solitary and lonely thing to do, and we need our whānau and our friends round about us. So to all you who have come to support these 6 contestants, I thank you for your commitment to this research in providing nurture, in providing a listening ear, in providing sometimes financial support, and most importantly, providing that atmosphere of nurture and love, which is vital. We also can't do research alone. We need particularly our colleagues and our supervisors who can offer advice and structure and collaboration. So thank you to all the supervisors of these 6 master's students and the wonderful work environments that they are part of. This is a competition, and we have celebrated the runner-up and the winner, and we thank the judges for their time and expertise and wisdom in coming to what is a very challenging and difficult decision. I am particularly grateful for all the organisational and technical help and support from the School of Graduate Research here at the University of Waikato and our comms and marketing team. This event requires so much planning and replanning in these extraordinary COVID and lockdown times. And we need that expertise in ensuring that the event can come together, that the recordings can be woven together in a seamless whole. I thank you for all you have done for making this event possible. Most importantly, I want to thank the speakers, our 6 finalists in this year's competition. I have learnt so much from you by listening to your 3-minute thesis presentations. I've learnt to look at soil in a different way. A teaspoon of soil containing more microorganisms than people on the planet. I have learnt of the need for partnership between farmers and business communities in order to help both the productivity and quality of what farmers are growing to improve, but also to ensure that there's an all-important local demand for the product. I have learnt of the different ways in which memory and time operate for children, and I've learnt to be cautious in judging time from an adult standpoint when thinking about the way in which children perceive and remember events. I have learnt about all that can be observed by the eyes when looking at a volcano, and that the study of the evidence of past events can help predict what might happen in the future. I have learnt that sometimes perhaps my suspicion of big data and surveillance is something that I should set aside to also value all the excellent information that research about this big data can provide, the way in which sometimes it might be very necessary to dispel some of the myths and the stories that circulate, particularly in a time of crisis. And I have learnt that leopard seals might sometimes be a little bit scary, but they're also just as curious about humans as we are about them. Thank you, speakers, for the research that you are doing, for the discoveries that you are making. Research is such a wonderful kind of coming together of both passion and time and effort. So I wish you all well in the remainder of your studies. And I encourage anybody who's watching with a passion for something, with a love of research and study, to pursue that dream. I've enjoyed your company and I wish you all the very best. Look after yourselves. Goodbye.
Rei rei pai te ariki e te atua. Nei mātou o pononga. E whakahoki atu nei i te koro ai mana ki uhia hio e koikirunga i tō mātou ki ingi. Rei rei kia tau kia tātou tia te whai o tō tātou arika i hukureiti me te aroha te atua. Me te whiwhinga tahitanga ki te wairua tapu. Ake. Amen.